mentioned that they are using Mac. So that's good news for me from my own end, because I had a lot of difficulties with Mac users in the past. So I believe we can get started now. So today, as we know, we will begin our SQL part of this LearnCamp, and we'll be having 6 sessions, just similar with Excel. So the same thing applies here: practice, practice, and practice. Whatever you learn here is not really like the best, but what makes it really useful in the end is how much you are able to practice. So whether you learn here or there, anywhere, if you are not practicing, then there is no result. You will think you know it. You will think you understand it. So please ensure to practice. And the same flow, at the end of the first week, we'll have a mini project. At the end of the second week, we'll have a mini project. And I would explain when we get there, but probably this first project or the second one, you would have to work with Excel as well. So it means you are not forgetting everything that you did in Excel. You are still making good use of them. So because we are talking of continuity here, not about just learning a tool and then abandoning it. And then in this part of the course, we will not be focusing only on tools anymore. I mean, on Excel, we didn't really focus on tools alone. We also looked at our analytical thinking and all of that, but here we'll do that more than we did in Excel, until we finally get to Power BI. I believe by then, many of us should have our orientation transformed somehow to think more analytically. So please be open, ask questions. Google is your friend as always, so if you have any question, you can always find a solution on Google. All right, so let's get started. I hope you can see my screen, right?
I'm using one that I have a question. Sorry.
Okay, what's the question?
Okay. All right. Partially based on the figure that we just did. Okay, so my question is the total order. Is it supposed to be calculated?
Sorry.
The number of.
Hello, Princess. I'm not taking any question on Excel. Sorry, we have moved to SQL. If you have any question on Excel, you should ask on the Discord. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is the content. This is what we'll be looking at. So installation of SQL, introduction to databases and SQL, importing data to SQL Server, SQL basics, functions, analyzing data from single table, joins and relationships, analyzing data for multiple tables project. So this is what we'll be looking at in this next 2 weeks. Maybe I would add something if time will allow us, but these are really important things. So I believe we've done this installation of SQL. If you have not installed, the video is on YouTube, also on the Discord channel. So you'll find out you can install SQL for Windows right there. So today we'll be looking at introduction to databases and SQL, and then we'll import our data, okay? So let's go to introduction to databases and SQL. So what are databases? So I believe some of us have heard of this word before, database. If you've not heard of it before, as you can see on the screen, they are like used to collect your data, okay? So you think of a tank, like a water tank, something that collects other things, objects, right? You think of a bag of balls and all of that. So it's like a database, right? And sorry, can you hear any noise in the background?
No.
You can? Hello? Nice. Oh, okay. No worries. I was saying on my end, so I started out. Okay, so you think of a bag of balls and something that collects an object. So in this case, a database is used to collect several data. So we talk of different data, just like what you'll be working on in your Excel. That's like a data, different times you send workbooks containing several data. So when you have a bigger object that collects all of those together, that is known as a database. But if you have a bag now that collects balls and then you just throw balls into it, there's really like no order, right? So you just like throw into the bag. But that's not the case with the database, because the database it stores data in a more structured way. I'm just using an example, just for us to remember some of these things. So remember, databases store data in a more structured way that helps us to be able to manage and retrieve whatever we want at any point in time easily. So you can see that databases are essential in various applications, from simple data storage to complex systems like website and enterprise solutions. So your database can collect data from anything, anywhere. Complex, no, let me say anywhere, but let me say complex systems like website and all of that, because if I say anywhere, it cannot collect unstructured data. So that's why I said not anywhere, but complex like website and all of that. So what are the importance of databases? So the list is a lot, but these are just simple things that you should know. It helps for efficient data organization. So like I said, comparing it with the balls now, with the bag of balls, it stores data in a more organized way, structured way. So, when it's structured, it means you can easily access, right? So if it's not structured, okay, just create an instance. You have a group of students just all on the field, okay? And you need someone from maybe grade 3 who is short. Just an example. So you have to start searching everyone. But if you have them arranged in grades, so this is grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 in classes, right? And then you need someone from grade 3, means you don't need to go to grade 1, just go straight to grade 3 and look for someone who is short. So that's like the idea of a database. So it makes retrieval of data really good, organization efficient. So we talk of data integrity. So we talk of maintaining the consistency and accuracy. These are analytical terms that maybe you might not understand now, but these are like, you cannot really change things anyhow in the database. For instance, on Excel, I can just come and edit the data, right? But you cannot really do that in your database, of course, except you have the queries written and all of that, but not as easy as, and this ensures over time your data is consistent in terms of the structure, the type. We talk of I cannot put in a number where text should be, all of these things. Those are what comes with the database. So also scalability. So it's scalable. It means that it can handle a small data now, and as it increases, it can also expand. That's what scalability means. I'm just trying as much as I can to look for simple words, terms to define these things. And also we have security. So again, similar to what I mentioned earlier about protecting your data. So the same thing here, you can protect data with a database. You can actually do that in spreadsheet, but it's limited. But here it's more dynamic and more advanced. So these are just some of the advantages. There are a lot, but these are a few of them. So you can read up on databases and understand what they mean. So when you talk of databases, the next thing you want to think of is SQL. Okay, so because we talk about databases being a structured way of storing data, and SQL actually means structured query language. So is it safe to say that SQL is used for databases since it's structured? Well, if you want to think like that, then it's fine. So SQL stands for structured query language. So as you can see here, it's a powerful language for managing and querying databases. So I want to get data, right? So let's go back to our ball terms, right? I'm a guy who loves football, so That's what I'm saying. So you have a bag of balls, right? And then there's a coach. And then I'm a player and then I need some balls. So I tell the coach, hey coach, I need 2 balls. And I told him something and then he's able to like understand what I mean and then sends me the ball. So it's like I communicated, like the language I spoke to him. So the same thing here. So the language that you speak to your database that helps it to understand what data you need, what needs to be returned is this SQL that you are learning. That's the language, okay? So the same idea works for every other. When you hear anytime they talk of programming languages, it's the same. So it's just like the way we have English, German, and all of that. So you're actually doing the same thing across those languages. It's just that the syntax, the way the interpreter understands it is different. So here it's the server. If you watch that video that talked about the installation, I explained also about server and then the analog business. So you can relate. So that's the language. It's used for querying, for getting data, for fetching data from the database. I hope you understand now. So SQL is a standard language adopted. There's a history on SQL. If you're interested, you can read it. It's a very, very old language. And over time, we have seen a couple of, let me call them companies, right? So try to work or make some interesting changes to this SQL, like broken English. For some of us in Nigeria, I don't know if there are other countries here that they have broken something like that. So it's like English, but then you try to add your own and try to make it easy for people to understand. So we have broken SQLs as well. So different companies like Microsoft, like Postgres, like Oracle, like Maria. I mean, a lot of them. So they have their own flavor. Okay. So these are the guys. So that's why you are learning MS SQL, which is Microsoft own. And then you could also see MySQL. Is it that they are different? Yeah, but the differences are just very, very minute. So just like is something you can easily understand. So if I'm trying to speak this language here, and for some reason I need to move to that language, all I need to do is, okay, there are some particular things that will change, of course. So I just need to find out what I'm trying to do here. How is that language spoken here? And Google is your friend in that case. Okay, so you can. So now that you're learning MS SQL, it doesn't mean that you cannot work on Postgres. You can work on any SQL fashion. Okay, the differences are just very, very little. And as you practice more, you would understand some of these things. So those are what we call, we could call them relational database management systems, RDBMS. So when you talk of RDBMS, you talk of relational databases, what we've been talking about all along. So relational means like you have your data in tables, in row and column. So that's like relational, row and column. So similar to what you have on your Excel spreadsheet, right? So relational, row and column. You already know that by now. And then these tables, because we talk of database, right? So don't forget, database contain a lot of data, okay? Which in data terms, those data are known as tables. So in Excel, you remember I kept on saying tables. I don't know if anyone noticed, but those things, those chunks of data that you see, they're actually technically called tables, right? So tables are related to each other because now we have different tables, different data in a database. They need to be related, actually. So we'll talk about that later as we advance. So that's what we mean by foreign keys and primary. We'll talk about that. That's not for now. And then they are widely used because of their flexibility and ease of use. So those are like relational database. So these are terms that you should know, you should just understand. You could be asked in interview, maybe, but personally, I've never really come across questions around this. But it's good to know this thing, to understand what you are working with. This can really help you. So these are the common DBMS. So that I mentioned earlier, like SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, there are a lot of them. Okay, so they are all like similar, very similar. The changes there are just about maybe 5%. So having said all of that, the next thing for us now is to, we already installed SQL. So the next thing for us is to import our data. So in a real world setting, you necessarily might not be doing what we're about to do, because your company, maybe the data engineers or whoever is responsible, will know how that they fetch data. So your own work as an analyst is to get the data and then analyze it. That's why you are an analyst. This is technically like what your role is all about. So you should just query this database because you just want the data to be sorted. You have no business how data is obtained, more often than not, as an analyst, right? So this step we're about to do, you might not even do it for the next 5-6 years in your job. But it depends on the kind of role that you get, because there are some companies that even if you are employed as an analyst, you will still be doing some engineering side. I mean, depends on how big that organization is and how sophisticated things are. So if you go to a very large firm, for instance, where they almost have someone in every department. So as an analyst, you might not even concern yourself with trying to import the data or bringing the data into the database. All you do all the time is just to go to the database. The data is always there, available, and then you fetch it up. But if you work in like a startup where we just have maybe like, you know what I mean by startup, if anyone has an idea of a startup, because like they're just growing. So you might really have to do more than just being an analyst. So you might want to also do like, the data definition, and we'll see that shortly. So what I'm just telling you is that this particular thing is not like what you would do all the time as an analyst, okay, as an analyst. But we are doing this because we are not in any company, and then we need to get our data in our database. So that's why we're about to do this step. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So now let's go. So everyone, let's launch our SQL. Of course, by now you should know how to launch that. So I'm going to launch my own SQL. If you don't know how to launch it, you can click on, after you've installed, of course, click on your Windows button and then type SQL, and then you would have this. So this is our management studio. I already explained management studio and server in that video. I'm sure you understand what is what now. Again, I showed you all of this in the video. If you've not seen it, please ensure you watch the video. So you're going to connect. And then once you connect, everyone should be here. So this particular step we're about to take, I will be given like 5 minutes for us to do it, because we need to be on the same page throughout the class, okay? So what I want you to do now is to, especially if you're using one screen, just watch me, what I'm about to do for the next 5 minutes, and then you will take the step. So concentrate. Please watch now, 5 minutes. I would also wait for you 5 minutes to repeat the same step, and we'll be on the same page. So please watch. So we talked about database, right? So the first thing you want to create is a database. So something that's going to store all your tables. So that's why we did all those explanations that we did. If you think it was not important, maybe now you are changing your mind. So the explanation of the old database and all of that is to make you understand that you cannot just have your table randomly in this side of analytics, or in this side of the tools that we're using. So you need to have like a database first that's going to store several tables or several data. So what you want to do now is to create database. So this is how you are going to create it. I believe you are watching and you are not distracting yourself, because I will not repeat it. So right click on databases, okay? And then you will see new database. So this is like, I'm trying to create a new database. So I'm going to name it, see where I'm putting my cursor. So let me just name it Summer LearnCamp. You can give it any name you want, but I will just name it Summer LearnCamp, okay? And then just click on OK. You're not changing anything. Just click on OK. Now, when I click on this plus for these databases, you will see that you have it. Initially, if you click on the plus, before I created it, I should have shown you that, I'm sorry, you would see that we only had these two guys there. If you try to click on your home now, you will see that you don't have anything. So, but after creating it, you would have this Summer LearnCamp created. Now, when I expand on Summer LearnCamp, I have a lot of things here, which we will not concern ourselves with this in this whole session. The only thing we need here is tables, because we are dealing with tables, as you already know. So if I click on tables again, and I expand tables, I have some other things. I have system tables, file tables, external tables, graph tables. So when you're dealing with like maybe some other kind of this thing, but we don't need those ones for now. So we need to create our own table, right? We need to bring in our own table. which is our data. Okay, so how do I do that? Now you can see I'm under tables. Under the database now, database that we created. Right click on it. Okay, let me wait for you guys. So create the database first. So 2 minutes for that. Create database. 2 minutes, create database. 2 minutes. Done. You don't need to talk. Just put it on the chat that is done. Okay, so I see a lot of done, so I believe we are good to go. So now right click on, well done. So right click on that database that you created, and then you will see tasks. Okay, so you don't need to cram this step. Like I said, it's not something you do all the time. Okay, so it's not really like you have to, but again, I have done it a lot of time, and now I already master it. So I believe if you also, like, if you start practicing, if you need to practice projects now, you need to do this. You get, so you will just find out that you know it by default. So go to tasks, and then you will see a lot of things here. So you're interested in import flat file, import data, export data. So I will not do a lot of explanation so as not to bring any confusion. So the file I sent on the Discord, you would notice that for some of us that have viewed on computer, you can see that it was misbehaving, it was looking weird, right? So that's a CSV file that I sent to you. It's not an Excel file, it's a CSV file. And maybe when we get to Power BI, I will do more explanation on the difference between an Excel file and a CSV file, because they're actually different. So if you look at it from your computer, of course, you are going to see Excel logo. So you might be tempted to think they are the same, but they are different, okay? And this is really important to know. But when we get to Power BI, I know that I will remember. So let me skip that for now, so as not to bore you. So you want to do import flat file because the CSV is a flat file, okay? So click on import flat file. All right. So now the next thing is, of course, as you can see, you just need to follow what's here. It's asking for the location of the file to be imported. So I'm going to click on browse, and then you will go to your, wherever it is, wherever you have downloaded it on your computer. So mine is actually in this folder, and then I'm going to select it, the same file that I sent to you. So you can see that you have the location, you have the new table name. So the name of the file, of course, is supermarket sales. So if you, in case you want to rename it, you want a different name when you are working with it in your database, you might give it a new name here, but I will leave it as supermarket sales. Okay. Then table schema, just leave this one as it is. In fact, it's only one option you have, so you cannot change it. And then you want to go to next. So once you click on next, it's going to give you a preview of your data. So if you actually open that CSV file, you will see that, in fact, this is your Saturday project, right? It's just that in the Saturday one, I splitted it, so that you could use VLOOKUPs and all of those things. But this is like the original file. So as you can see, you have a preview of the data, but not important now. So the next thing you want to do is click on next. This one is, again, more details on that, but you will not be, I don't think you'll be needing it. I believe our file will go straight up without having to come back here. So let's check. Again, click on next, and then you have like something like this, and then you want to click on finish. So once you do that, in progress, and now you can see success. So it means our file has been imported, and then you can close. So do the same thing in 2 minutes. So go to right click on your database that you created, go to task, and then import flat file, not import data, import flat file. And then look for the file wherever it is, and then try to bring it. When you are done, please let me know. Okay, I have one done. Okay, 2 now, 3, 4, right? Well, you can actually have SQL on MacBook. It just, if anyone is using MacBook, I told you that you should let me know, because I did not see anyone who said they are using MacBook. I would have sent a video for you to install. Okay, done. All right, so now that you are done, thank you all for doing it. So you would go to tables. So you go to tables. I can't find the table that we just imported. So I believe maybe some of you will find it, maybe some would not, but it's not, there's no cause for alarm. So if you don't find the table you just created, you come over here to this guy, you can see refresh. Okay. So once you click on refresh, and then you go back to your tables, you can see that we already have our data here, right? So I hope it's the same on your end. So you have DBO, that's the schema name. You remember we left it as DBO, right? Dot supermarket sales. All right, so this is our data. So please, less distraction, please, on the chat, less distraction. Sorry, because I'm looking at it and I don't want to get confused with the messages. Okay, so now that we have our data, now we can start working now. Okay, so now we're about to start with our SQL class. So I believe everyone is on this page. So let me go back to my presentation because we have imported our data to SQL. So the next thing now is to look at some SQL basics. So this is what I was actually talking about the other time. So under the basics, we want to look at components. So again, these are things that you can read about, you can learn as you progress. But in SQL, there are several, not even 3, but I just limited it to 3. The first one is data definition language. So we talked about language, right? So it's still the type of SQL now that you can write. So when you talk of data definition, you talk about creating tables. That's how you can, because now we imported table, right? We can actually create the table ourselves. You can do that without importing anything. You can actually, that's why I said that in a typical business setting or company setting, is the data engineers that do that, right? So they will not be importing. They will probably have to write the code to create it and all of that. So the language is still SQL, but that type is like data definition. And then we have data manipulation. So after you have created your table, you want to make some changes. Like, okay, here I notice it's supposed to be 5, and then it's 10, or I want to change the colon type, just similar thing that we were doing in Microsoft Excel, trying to change the data type and all of these things. You can actually do that also with the SQL, right? So those are under manipulation language. Okay, do you get the idea now? And then we have query language, DQL. So these are the ones that we use to retrieve data from the database. So that's what we'll be focusing on. So if we have time, we'll look at some manipulation, but that will be later. I can't bring that in now. That will be much later. Don't get confused. I'm not saying all these things to confuse you. I'm just letting you know that this is how they are. And I hope you are understanding it. So we are more concerned with query language, because we want to fetch data from our database, from our tables. So that's what we are more interested in, and that's what we'll focus more on throughout our session together. Okay, Princess, I see your hand up. Let's take your question. I can barely hear you. I think your mic or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm saying on my own Object Explorer, there's nothing there. Like the connection, it's saying connect to server. And I don't know.
Any server name?
No, it's saying that you input server name.
It's saying what?
It's saying that you input server name.
So are you saying that you cannot find any server name on right now, right?
Yes.
Is this the first time you are noticing this, or you noticed when you installed?
When I installed, I just checked it and I saw that it was fine. I saw that it was just one server that it was connected to. Like the question, I followed the steps that you mentioned.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, Princess, but I am not able to resolve that with you now. So you might have to just watch us. And then once we are done with the class, I can assist you on Discord. Okay, please, apologies for that.
Mm.
Okay. So you have some comments on the chat. Someone else was raising his hand earlier. Who was that? Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, I was the one that raised my hand earlier.
Okay, please go ahead. You wanted to say something?
I have installed SQL Server Management Studio earlier on, and then with Azure Data Studio. Now, I opened it initially, it went fine, it connected. And now I'm trying to connect to that Data Studio. It's giving me an error message. So I don't know if I'm to uninstall and then install again.
Data Studio.
Yes.
Like I said, I will not provide support for any tool that is not the same as what we are doing. So we're actually using MS SQL management,
Server Management Studio.
Server and Management Studio. So if you are using data, you can use Data Studio. I'm not disputing that, but I cannot be providing support right here. So if you have, maybe that will be later, not here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So you can chat me up maybe during the on Discord. So let's continue, guys. Okay. So I was saying that we'll be focusing more on query language, right? So because we want to like fetch data, retrieve data, as you can see the definition here from our database. Okay. So now takes us to when you talk of querying, when you talk of like the DQL, the next thing you want to think of. I mean, majority of the analysts do the DQL actually. So analysts are just concerned about like fetching the data and then analyzing, just like I told you from the beginning. So other ones are like more for the database developers, data engineers, and so on and so forth. So don't worry, I just mentioned those things. It's not to scare you. So when you talk of the query languages, the next thing you want to hear is the big Cs. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of it before. So, but these are like the foundation, like the basics of SQL language, at least for an analyst, from the analyst point of view. So we'll be looking at these big Cs, and then when we are done, we'll look at other things. So let's start. Now we are starting with SQL. So the first statement you want to know whenever you hear of SQL is select. Okay, so and how does select work? So again, still with our example, it's about like, we have like, for instance, in that bag of ball, I'm still using that example so you can understand. In that bag of ball, we have green ball, we have red ball, we have blue balls, we have and so on. So I want to be more specific with the kind of ball I want. So I could say, okay, give me the green ball, right? So select green ball. That's just, and SQL is very interesting because sometimes when you read the codes, it's like you're speaking English, normal English. So that's why it's different from many other languages. So it's very, very friendly in terms of understanding it. So select basically means it's the statement that you use to like to invoke a call, like invoke a query. So select is always the first thing that you are going to write in your query language. Okay, the first thing, select will come first. Select this, I want this. And then the next thing you need to know is from. Okay, so select and from, they have to be together. In fact, any query language that will make sense must have these two. Others may not be there, but these two must be present. And it's logical because if I need a blue ball or a green ball, I definitely need it from somewhere, right? So from a bag, right? So if I just say, give me green ball. So the next question I'm going to ask me is, where am I getting the green ball, right? So give me the green ball from that black bag. You get the idea. So that's it. So select and from, they are like the two languages, like the two statements, like that starts the whole thing. So let's see how we can actually see this in action. So let's go back to our database, management studio, I mean. So here in our database, there are several ways you could start writing a query. There are several ways you could start writing a query. So the first option is here at the top, you will see new query, right? Control N. If you type Control N, you will find it. Another way, faster way actually. You could right click on your table and then you will see select top 1000 rows. Okay. So if I click on it, it will automatically open up this query. And then you can see that it wrote the query for me. So because I said, don't worry, we'll talk about these ones later, but because I said top 1000 rows, so that's why we have this. So we'll talk about it later. So, and then all of the columns are selected. So these are all the columns that are in that table. So you can confirm yourself. These are all the columns that we have in that our table. So you can see select, it started with select, and then you can ignore this ones for now. And then all of the columns. So I want all of these columns, as you can see here, from, okay, so talking about the second statement that I talked about earlier, from. So where am I bringing this from? So I'm actually bringing it from this table. So now you might be looking at it like, oh, what's this? A lot of things. Yeah. So the way it works is that it's just a connection. So this is like the database. Don't forget, this is what we created as a database. And then this is the schema. And then this is the table name. So I think without all of these, our query will still work. So if I have this and I click on execute, it's still working. Okay. So, but that's just SQL's way of, making best practice kind of way of writing it. So, but if you just say from, you will still have your query working. So let me explain what's going on here, starting a new query. Okay, so let me close this. And then, no, I'm not saving now. So that's the first way you can just start something. That method is very good when you quickly want to look at how your table looks like. So the next way is to, like I mentioned earlier, the first way is to click on new query. Okay, so when you click on new query, you can start writing your query by yourself. So you write select. If you look at your data, so I like to, sorry, let me open our data on Excel so we can be looking at it side by side. I think it makes more sense that way. Of course, you would have to be doing this all the time, but just for us to understand. So these are all the columns that we have. Can you see? So select. So let's assume that I showed you how you can bring in all of those columns, right? So, but there are a lot, so I don't want to bring all of them. So let's assume I'm just interested in maybe invoice ID. So I'm going to copy it, invoice ID and branch. Okay, so let me see how I can do that. So I'm not interested in all the columns. I just want invoice ID. Okay. Okay, let me use branch first because, so if I type branch, it's not case sensitive. So you can either do capital letter or small letter. Okay, so select branch from, okay. Now the name of my table is what? Supermarket. So it has intelligence. So you can see that it's completing some of those things for me. So because it knows that they are there. So supermarket sales. And then before I wrote supermarket sales, you can see that my branch was having a dash because, yeah, where am I going to find this branch? It's just like what I was trying to explain earlier, right? So until I completed the whole thing, then it knows that, okay, this looks right because I can find a supermarket sales table, and then inside of it, I can find a branch. So how do I run my query? So here you have execute, okay? Or you can use F5, anyone you want. So I'm going to click on execute. And once I do that, you can see that I have all the branches, but I only have one column now. And the reason I have one column is because I only requested for a branch. Okay. So if I need order as well, so let me say I'm looking for quantity. Let me add city now. So if I want city, let me bring this down so that we can see it clearly. So if I want city now, next thing I'm going to do is just separate it with comma. That's all. So I want city as well. Okay, now you can see it's trying to complete for me. So I can select it or type it fully myself. So if I run this query again, now I have city added to it. So you can see how I'm making the request, right? I'm making the request and it's returning it back to me. That's querying a database, a table. A database for a table. Okay. So let's try one more. So let's add customer now. So I'm going to add customer. So you can see we have customer type. It's bringing everything for me. Is it customer type? We have a customer. I think it's customer type because this customer is like underscore. Okay, so it's customer type. So customer type. So it's bringing it for me. I can click on it and then I can execute. Okay, so this is the first one. Do you get it? I hope you understand now. Okay, so now let's assume I want to get all of the columns, right? So you would expect me to, let me copy this and paste it here, down here. So if I want all of the columns now, you would expect me to write all of this, right? Which is what I should do. But in a case where I have like maybe 50 columns, doing that will work, but again, it's all about efficiency of the work. So there's a way you can tell Excel that I want all the columns all at once. Okay, so all the columns all at once. So that's star. Okay, so if I say select star from supermarket, so what you're telling SQL is that give me everything, all the columns. Okay, so if I run this now, you will see that we have all of the columns instead of just one. Okay, so those are the important things I want you to know, starting with the fact that you can query your table, making single requests. So from like one column or another column or more than one column, or querying all of your table. Do you get it? So you can practice this quickly in 1 minute. And if you have any questions, these are very simple things. So if you have any questions, so try to do this in 1 minute. Try to see the IntelliSense if it's working while you are typing. If SQL is completing it for you, just check. And then if you have any question, yeah, Ikechukwu, let's have you.
Okay, so you must highlight the one you want to execute. Or if you click on execute, will it run the two of them? Because I can see two commands there already.
Thank you. Thank you for that interesting. Thank you for noticing as well. So I will answer when others are done practicing. So we have 30 more seconds to practice. Okay, done. All right, done. All right, so I believe everything is good then. Okay, so now you would notice that whenever I want to run my query, I was actually like highlighting it. So this is one of the things with different languages. Okay, now if I'm not selecting anything, not languages, different RDBMS. Now you know what RDBMS means, right? So if I'm not selecting anything and I click on execute, you will see that I have two results. Can you see? So the first result is this guy at the top here. You can try it on your end as well. And then the second result is everything that you have here. I think out of the RDBMS that I know, maybe there's an update recently that I'm not aware of, is only MS SQL that does this. If you try this in other RDBMS, it's going to flag an error. So these are some of the changes that you need to know. So it's only MS SQL that I know that when you write a query like this, it's going to give you the two results. Others we only you can only get one result at a time. So which means that whenever you have several queries, because they are doing different things, you need to be specific by highlighting the one you want. Are you getting the point now? So when you highlight the one you want, that's when you can execute. Yeah, it's not really, you can actually get the two results. But over there, like MySQL, for instance, you need to highlight. Or you need to separate your queries. So because right now, you are not separating these guys. It's working here, like I said, because it's part of the IntelliSense that comes with it. And those are actually asked us to use MS SQL. So we're going to run into a lot of issues. But with others, you will not, running this query like this will give you an error because it's like, there is no, where do I stop? So it's like English, when you write, you have a place where you have full stop. You have a place for comma, you have a place for full stop. So full stop means I'm done with this sentence. Now I'm starting a new sentence. So in that way, we also have full stop for querying languages. So and the full stop is this. Can you see? Semicolon. So in other languages, you would need to do this. So adding this, you are telling them that, okay, this statement has actually ended here. And then this is like a new one. Otherwise, they will be seeing it like this. This is how they will be seeing it. That means you're writing it together, and then it's going to flag an error. Okay? So please take note of that. Whenever you want to run your query, you will notice that I'm always highlighting what I want to run and then execute. So because here is working, of course, without it because it's a mice, but when you go to order. So these are some of the little minute changes that you should take note of. I hope that is clear, Mr. Ikechukwu, who asked the question. Okay. Let's go. So that's select and from. Very simple, right? So from is used to define the table or tables. So we are not dealing with more than one tables now. We're only dealing with one table. By the time we get to more than one table, we'll come back to that. But it's still the same thing. So the next interesting thing, question again. No, I will take question later. So the next interesting thing is where. Okay, so after from, select from, now sometimes you need to like do where. And this where, the whole idea of where is that you want to filter. I'm already saying it a lot. Okay, so let's take 5 minutes break. And then just for us to refresh, and then when we return, we'll continue. We'll continue from where. So Mr. Fushoya, let me have your question.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, I want to ask, like the way you want to select some query now that you're asking to select column for you. So is it possible if you want to select just only row? So like we see customer invoice and you have to bring everything on that row down to the extreme end. Is it possible?
So you are saying if you want to select a particular row based on like the position.
Yes.
Yeah, that's possible. And while there are several ways to do that, one of them is what we're about to do next, which is where, because where is actually used to filter the record. So when we'll see it when we go there. But maybe we will not do it exactly as you want, because if you want exactly, we might have to use some additional functions like row number. There's a function like that. So you would row number. So Excel will, I keep saying Excel. I think that will continue for the next couple of classes until I get used to it. So without row number function now, it knows the position that each of the records have. So if I say, you will also have to use that where condition to say, okay, I want where this particular row record is. There are several ways, like I said, to do it. Another way is we have a thing called index. So if you go into core of data engineering, data warehousing and all of that. So each of your data, sometimes you might want to create index. So it means that there will be a different column that will be numbered, that will number them 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order. Okay. So you can also use that. If you have that in a table, for instance, you can use that also to filter them, because that already provides you it depends on different ways. But if you don't have that, then row number is the easy way to.
Not possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Abdulakim, we are on break. So I'm just taking questions. Yeah, Mr. Abdulakim. Mr. Abdulakim? Okay. I don't think he's there. Mr. Ikechukwu, yeah? Let's have you.
Okay, sir, sorry. I just want to take it back a bit. When we imported, what do we click?
When we imported?
Yes, when we, under the table, under the database, under the table, if we right click on that file we imported, what do we do next? Should we click on table design or select top 1000 rows, please?
It was not a mandatory step. I was just trying to show you something, how you can start your query. And what we selected.
I want to start my query, actually.
Yeah, you actually have new query at the top. So most times you would want to use that instead. But what I was trying to show is that you could easily look at the top 1000 records. And that's by using the select 1000 rows option that you have there.
New query, I'm not sure. I have select top 1000 rows. I have design and I have table.
Yeah, we are saying the same thing. I said we selected select 1000 rows.
Okay.
But the use case is not, it's not like you use it all the time. I was only trying to for an explanation.
Okay. Okay.
When you start your query, go to this. Don't cram steps. Just know why you need to do what needs to be done. So not like you saw me doing select and then you want to also do select. I was just trying to use it for an explanation. So if you want to start your query, you would find new query at the top. That's where you will start a new query entirely, and then you can start writing your query by yourself. Okay, let's take Mr. Fresh Code.
Hello, hi.
Hi,
so quick question. I saw that when you were running your queries, you had you had it in curly brackets. I don't know, is it specific to, like, did you do that deliberately? Or because when I was doing my own, I didn't have my items in the curly brackets.
And the query worked, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, again, it's about you know, I was not the one typing those, I was auto-completing it. So it's the way SQL designed it. It's just similar to when, okay, let's go. We're about to start. We should start our class now. So let's resume. So we are back, guys. So I actually got a question about this. So I will try to answer now. Where's SQL now? Okay, this is it. So you're talking about this. This isn't just squarely. This is square bracket. This one, right? Right? Okay. It's a fresh code. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I can't hear him, but I believe this is what he was talking about. So this guy, again, is one of those things SQL has, because I was trying to, it was auto, if you remember, it was like, if I type sales, it was auto-completed. I was not the one, if you type it by yourself, then you will not need to put it there. But using its own, it's like its own best practice now. So it will also work, but it's not compulsory to be there. All right. So let's continue. Okay, I hope you got that. So let's continue from where we stopped. So we are going to look at where is here. So let's look at the definition. So where is used to filter data based on specific conditions. Okay, so you are trying to tell Excel that I don't want all of the things. Did I just say Excel again? Sorry. You're trying to tell SQL that I don't want all of this data. I actually want this certain set of data. So an example is this. You have a list of students, right? And all your students come from different locations, different parts of the world. We have students from Nigeria, students from Algeria, students from Jamaica, students from Iran, Iraq, and all of that. So if you're interested in students from Nigeria, right, it means that SQL does not use network. It's just you're connected to the local server. So it means that I don't want all of the data. I actually want based on a particular condition. And the condition is that the student country has to be what? Nigeria. So in that particular data now, you will have a colon that is telling us the country. Because if there's no colon that tells us the country, how will you know the students that are from Nigeria? It doesn't make sense, right? So there will be, that means there has to be a colon that will tell us, okay, this student is from this country. And then I will use that country as my criteria, right? The values of that country as my criteria to now filter out the records that I need. Is it clear? So let's see how it works in proper setting. All right. So we did some of these things actually in our Excel. If you remember, when we filter, when you filter in Excel, it's the same thing. So I filter, I want where maybe the salary is more than 10,000, that kind of idea. So it's also, what we're doing is just where there, but this is how it's done here. So everything that we learned in Excel, we're actually doing the same thing here. It's just that about knowing how can I get it done. So let's go. So if you go to our SQL now, so let's see how we can implement that way. So if you look at all the columns that we have invoice, we have branch. So let's start with branch. So I'm interested in knowing all the orders that we got in branch A. We have several branches here, right? So I want only branch A. So how do I write that in SQL? You know how to do it in Excel, right? You know how you can use your filter and then you are only left with A. Let's see in Excel. So before I continue from here, I want to show you one thing, which is a best practice, which I recommend you do. It's called comments. So when you're working like this on SQL, because you have a lot of queries and the queries will be doing different things, it's important or it's necessary that you have comments. So this comment will help you know that, okay, this query that I'm about to write, this is what it's doing. This query that I'm about to write, this is what it's doing. So how do you write comments? Very simple. Just do double dash. That's all. So if I do double dash, you see that the color is green. So that tells you that it's a comment. So it's not part of the code. Even if you run it, nothing is going to happen. Do you understand it? So I'm going to write a comment here and say that I want to get orders in branch A. Are you getting the idea? So it's a comment. So it's SQL will not do anything to it, but it helps me as the guy who's reading this code, or even if I send this code out to someone else, they can understand what is going on here. So now let me write my query. So let me start by saying select branch or select all. I want to get all of them from what's the name again? Supermarket sales. Okay. Now, if I run this is not what we want because we still have orders from the other branches, right? So how do I now make it return only from branch A? So that's where the where clause comes in. So after you say select from, the next thing is where. Okay, so where, in the example I gave, what do we use to know the students that come from Nigeria? The country column. So here, how do we know which column will supply us with the information of the branch column, right? So you want to say where branch, okay, is equals to then A. Don't forget, now you know that A is a string. These are the things we learned in Excel, right? So you cannot write A like this. You can only write a number like this, like 12, like 13. So it's a string. You have to write like this, okay? Now, I'm getting an error here, okay? Now, what is the error? Let me run it and see, maybe we can have more details. I know what the error is anyways, but invalid column name, hey. So it's one of the things you should learn. So in other languages, I don't know if David is on the call. David is one of the mentors. So we've had a class before and it was really funny with this guy. So I think I started with MySQL. No, I think I started with Postgres. And then I moved to MySQL. And then if you have that kind of experience, you'll be making this kind of errors because these are like the little changes that we have. So I think one of them, maybe Postgres accepts this, but MS SQL does not accept this. So if you want to write a string here, you don't use double quote, you use single quote. Okay, so these are just the little changes that I was talking about in those things. So, but you will get used to them, right? So now this is how you write it. So you can see that you have no error. Now, if I run this query, you will see that the results you have are only what? Are only branch A. Are you seeing it? So that's how your where clause works. So where branch is equals to A. All right. So I want you to try something and I hope you get it. First, do you understand this? Just say yes on the chat and then I can tell you to try something. Do you understand it? Okay. No, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. So now write a query. We want the customer type member. Or no, sorry. We want where the city is Yangon. Where this, no, sorry. Branch and city are the same. So we'll get the same thing. Okay, so let's do for male. So we want all the orders that we had only male customers. Male customers. So we have 40 seconds to do that. 40 seconds. 40 seconds. $40 seconds. Anybody? Anyone done? Okay, Mr. Ikichuku, tell us the code that you wrote. You are the first person to finish. Very quickly. Unmute yourself and tell us. So I will type.
Okay, what I did was select all, like asterisks. From supermarkets. Once you just type supermarket, it pops up. You just press tab.
Okay, thank you for that tutorial.
And then where gender is equals to single, that's up something, then male.
Which one is up something? Where gender is equals to?
Male, but you put it in like in quotation mark.
Huh?
Not double, what did they call it? Just like you did in A now, but
say just like like this, right?
Yes. Then highlight it and then execute.
Execute. All right, thank you. So we got only 4 minutes. Interesting. Thank you. You can mute yourself. Thank you so much. So that's how you use your where clause. Now, there are a lot of ways to use the where clause. So that's where it gets really, really interesting, because you can filter based on a lot of conditions. A lot of them. So we'll be taking time to explore them today. So I think by the time we'll be done with this where, we should end the class. So let's see more interesting examples. So based on what you have here, these are some of the operators that you can use. Again, the use of these operators depend on what you want to do, right? So we've used equal to, which is what you saw, right? So equals to this. So let's see more examples of equals to, and then let's see other examples as well. So let's assume I want for where the unit price, so we want to see the expensive products that were ordered. So where the unit price is greater than, I don't know the minimum or maximum, but let's say where it is greater than 85 or 80. Okay, so where it is greater than 80. Can you try? Let's go. 40 seconds again. So we want to get orders where the unit price, where the product unit price is greater than 80. Anyone done? Is greater than 80. Let me see if you can try that. Anyone? Now, by now, I don't expect you to be writing your query one by one again. You should be fast with your work. So be copy and pasting. Nobody will beat you for that. It's a good, you cannot be typing everything one by one again. There's no time. Done. Mr. Oluwaseun, okay, you said done, then you said it's not done. Okay, you saw. He saw something that scared him, so he quickly announced that it's not done. Nice. Okay, so let's see Abby. Abby, it's nice to see that you're in class today, as always, and I'm glad you are here. So Abby, let's have you. Tell us the query that you wrote.
I've always been in class. I
know you've always been.
So,
you know why I said that. Yeah, quiet.
So I did select all from supermarket says. Then I said where unit price is greater than or equal to 80. Then I ran the code.
Where unit price is greater than
or equal to 80.
Greater than or equal to?
Yeah.
80. Is this how you wrote the query?
No, I used that symbol, the greater than symbol.
Oh, okay. This one, right? Is it this one or this one?
Yes. Yes, this is the one I used. That's less than. The left hand is less than. The right hand is greater than. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that tutorial. Okay. And this, right?
Yes.
So if we run it, truly all our unit price are greater, right? So, I mean, that's pretty much it. So that's how you use your where clauses. Okay, I'm glad that you guys are getting it. So let's make it more interesting. So let's assume, it's the same way we've been asking those questions in our Excel. We are just doing them here again. So let's assume I'm interested in the male customers that live or that bought our product in Yangon. So male customers that brought our product in Yangon. So others where the customers were male, and then the city was in Yangon. Can anyone try? Anyone try? Anyone who tries it's probably okay. Someone said it's confused. Okay, no worries. I know you should be confused. Anyone who gets that is probably someone who has done SQL before. So let me show you. I just want to. I know Alakunle is done, so it's probably done SQL before. So if you are confused, then we are together. Let's do it together now. Okay. So we want to get others where others in Yangon city and by male customers, right? So that's the word, by male customers. All right. So that takes us to the next thing. So I'm going to write this, copy and paste as usual. So now we have two conditions. With the where we talked about, we're taking two conditions, more than one conditions, right? So we have two conditions now. The first one is that it is a male customer, and then the second one is that the city is Yangon. Okay, so what we need to do, did we do it in Excel? Did we do AND function in Excel? No, right? We didn't. Did we? Did we not? No. Okay, sorry about that. I should have. I don't know why we missed that, but it's one of those functions in Excel that we should have done. No. Okay, no problem. So in real life now, let's come back to real life. The whole idea is that you are not checking for one criteria, you're actually checking for more than one. And if you actually want to tell this to someone in real life, you tell the person, I want where the customer is a male and the city. So that same way is the way you're going to write it. So we have AND statement. Okay, so this AND is used for joining two criteria. Okay, and it means that both has to be met. So because when you say AND in real life, SQL is English, like we said at the beginning. So when you say AND, it means that these two conditions must be met. If I say I want a mango and an apple, it means that I'm getting two fruit, right? But if I say, okay, let me leave it there. So it means I'm getting two fruit. So those conditions have to be met. So where gender is equals to male and city, okay, equals to, then you're going to write it, Yangon. That's all. Okay, so this AND condition holds both of them together. So when you run it and you execute, you realize that while all our city is Yangon, indeed our gender is male. Okay, so that's how you do that AND condition. So when you're checking for more than one criteria. So this is a more rigid link. So it could be less rigid. So if I'm saying that, okay, Mr. Emmanuel, I want an apple, or I want an apple or a mango. So if you give me an apple, I will not be angry with you, right? If you give me a mango only, I will not be angry with you. If you give me an apple and an orange and a mango, I will also not be angry with you. But if you don't give me anything, then I'll be angry with you. So that's a different one. For the first one we did, you have to give me a mango and you have to give me an apple. That's AND. But if I say, give me an apple or a mango, so it means if you bring a mango, you are good. If you bring an apple, you are good. If you bring both of them, you are good. So that takes us to the second condition, which is the second statement, which is OR. So when you use OR, it means one of the conditions has to be met. At least one has to be met. At least one has to be met. So let's see how it works here. So if I say I want orders from Yangon City or where the customers are male. So let's see the result. So I'm just going to copy this again. And then or by male customers. I hope you are understanding what we are doing. So here, instead of using and, it's very straightforward. I'm just going to use or. So if you run it, you would understand what is going on. So now if I run it and I look at this first one now, you can see that my city is Yangon, but my gender is female, right? It makes sense, right? Because it is her. So either of those criteria has to be met. So now I'm seeing Yangon, I don't know if that's the pronunciation. I'm good, right? If you go to the next one, we have Yangon, we have male. So here you got both of them. It's also good. If you go to this one now, we don't have Yangon, but we have male. So at least one of those criteria is being met. You understand it now. So that's like the difference between and or. Same thing in Excel. I wish we had done that. So if not, I wouldn't have had to do this explanation. So again, that's the use case over there in Excel. Okay, so take note. So when you're trying to check two criteria together, now it's not like when do I use, am I supposed to use and or am I supposed to use or? So it now depends on what you want. Do you want it to be flexible? Do you want it to be rigid? Then you now decide on which one. I hope you understand it. Okay. All right. So we've seen equals to with where. We have seen greater than or equals to. The same thing can also mean that we can use less than. So if you check all of these operators here, we have greater than, we have less than. I want you to try, just not now, later, play with them. You know, when you run the code, look at the result and see, is it really what? That's how you can really understand what's going on. Okay, so you have less than, so you can say, okay, I want to see where the tax is less than it. Just look at the values, set a threshold and see less than. Then you also have not equal to. So this is how you write not equal to. Okay, so not equal to is like this, greater than or equals to. So in some versions of SQL, you know, we've been talking about this now. Some versions we write it like this, like this and then equals to. So these are the differences that you need to just know. But I think this MS SQL actually does both of them. I think it does both of them. So you can confirm that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it does both of them. So, or let's just try one example of not equals to and let's see. So let's make it more interesting now. Let's say I want, you know, in our customer type, we actually have two customer types, member and normal, right? So if I want only normal, I can say where customer is equals to normal, right? Or I can say where customer is not equals to member. Is it not the same thing? Is it not the same? Is it not the same? Chat? It is. Okay, so let's try that example. So let's see. I just want to show us how that not equals to works. So get orders by member customers. Okay, so it means that where customer type is equals to members, right? That would be the normal way. If you want to go in another way, it's not equals to, again, I'm making that double quotes. It's not equals to normal, right? So this means that it will only bring members. Then if you click on it, you can see that we have members. So this is just to show us how not equals to work in SQL. Okay, we'll continue. So the next one is between. So we also have between. So this is used for range. What do I mean? So let's go over to SQL. So let's get everything first and see our result, our table. So let's assume I'm interested in, of course, when you hear between, you can only between with a number. You cannot say between cat and dog. Doesn't. I think it's between numbers that can work. So this between now we can only use it for a numeric or quantitative colon. So let's use this quantity colon. So let's see others where it is between. Now you don't want to do greater than or equals to, because if you do greater than or equals to, it means that there's no limit. So once it is greater than that number or equals to that number, then go to infinity, right? But now I want to have like a limit. So I want it to be between this and this. So that's the use case for this. So it's different from, you understand why we cannot use it, why you cannot use greater than or equals to in place of it. So we have different range for this quantity. So let's say we want quantity between 5 and 8. Okay, 5 and 8. All right. So again, there are several ways to do it. I can show you the longer way, but then I can also show you this one. So I'm going to write get orders with quantity between 4. Is it 4 and 8 that I said? Okay, between 4 and 8. All right. So let's see how we can do that. So say where quantity, right? Now, if I say between 4 and 8, going back to our previous way, what we've already known, if we want to write this in Excel, or even based on what we've done so far, you can actually say where quantity is greater than or equals to 4, and, right? You agree with me? And quantity is less than or equals to 8. Do you agree? So if I want to find between, do you agree that this will work? Do we agree? Yes. Okay. So if we run this now, and you see that you only have quantities between 4 and 8, right? So that's how you can create the band. But instead of doing this, I guess someone thought about it wherever they are doing all their work and said, okay, instead of having this long stress, why not have just another statement that can give us that? So where quantity between 4 and 8. I hope this syntax works. If not, we'll go to Google together. So when I run it, so you can see that it's still the same thing. So these two are like the same thing. So it's all about, it's not cramming those things, but just knowing when to use them. And, so we are going to have the same result. But of course, I think, just like we said in Excel, at this stage, it's okay to do things anyhow. But when you start dealing with huge volume of data, then you are concerned about optimization, because these two will actually not take the same speed. Let me see. So if you look at this guy now, the completion time of this guy is completion time. No. There is something else that shows, okay, 0.000 seconds. It's actually it's not a huge data. If it's a huge data now, you would have seen the time. So maybe very fast. This is very fast. But if it's in a real world setting, you get what I'm saying? So they are not different. They are not the same. The performance is different. So you don't want to choose a method that will slow down your. So I believe strongly that this one will be faster than this one. Okay, because this one will have to check 2 times. But that's why this statement was there. So these are some of the things you will learn as you go on. But for now, you can do whichever that this is you. Okay, so that's between. All right. And the next one, which is very, very interesting, is the like. The like, I really love this one. Wildcards, we call them wildcards. So we actually have them in, not only in SQL, in all programming language, I believe. So we even have it in Excel. Yeah, you remember when we were talking about in our VLOOKUPs and all of that, when we had, what's it called now? Someone remember me, that last one, when we choose exact match, you remember? When we have true, false, and we're always doing 0, 0, you remember? So if we had done 1, it would have been working like a wildcard. So it will not bring the exact, but it's going to like find a pattern. So that's it, but no worries about that. So let's see what's going on here. I know it's going to get really interesting now. So let me take one question. I see a hand up, Mr. Sunday. So please go ahead. Mr. Sunday, are you there? Okay, I guess
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm here, Idris.
Please go ahead. You have a
Okay,
question?
so yeah, I was just wondering, like, okay, if you're using SQL to you want to use it to return a particular solution. Now, looking at the data set, I know that, for example, if we say something like we want to get orders by mail customers, I know we are looking at the data sets to determine, okay, which column are we going to select? Are we going to use where and all like that? I just want to know that, is that a normal thing that you do when you're working your data? Because it's like as if you are visualizing the data in one part. Then when you're writing the SQL code, you're looking at it, okay, which column do I bring in and all like that?
Yeah, it's a compounding process. So it's what we are doing now. Several of them are what you would do in a bigger set. So we are taking it bit by bit. But yeah, everything you would do in a normal, when you are working in a real set, it doesn't go past this. It's just that you have a lot of these kind of processes now compounded. And just similar to what we're doing in Excel. In Excel, we started bit by bit and then got to the point where we're like really doing everything together. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the way I understand it. Perhaps.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thanks.
If you're still not clear or something, you can just let me know later on the chat. Okay, let's continue. I will not take questions for now. Let's still continue. So the next one, again, we are still on where. You can see we are still on where. So like I said, where it's all about that I want to return some set of data. So how do I make Excel know that this is the kind of data that I want? So that's why we have a lot of options that you can use to let it know that this is what I want. So we have like, and you can see here that it says it searches for a pattern. Okay, so I think it's another slide. Okay, this is it. So wildcards, they call them wildcards. All right. So this is how they are used. I'm going to show you, so don't worry about it if it's looking somehow right now. So, but as you can see here, where customer name, so this is an example. So, or it could be any column now, where column like this. What you have here is a percentage. I know it's a lot, don't worry, you understand it. So what this does is it finds any value that starts with A. Does that even make sense? Okay, let me explain in another way. So let me open my Excel over here. Now, if I have, let me use a simple example here. If I have carts, if I have carty, and I have carte, and I have cart. So let's assume I have these four guys here. Okay. Now, if I want to return all, okay, let me add more examples. So let me have dog, let me have Doge, not Dogecoin, but let me have those guys here. So now if I want to return only values that start with C, okay, so values that start with C, one way I can do that is with the wildcards. And how that works is, I would just tell, even here in Excel, same. So you would say C and then percentage. So what this means is, percentage means any value. It could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, any number of value. What this means is that the number that you are going to return, or the value you are going to return, C must start it, and then any value can come after it. Do you understand? C can start it, C must, not even can, C must start it, and then any number can come after it. That's the meaning of this one. So if I use this wildcard for this particular column, all these guys will come out as my result because they are all starting with a C. Now, if I had A here, all of them will still come out because they are all having CA start them. Now, if I have T here, can anyone guess which one and which one will come out from these guys here? Anyone?
The first three.
The first three. Good. So because this one will no longer come out because it doesn't have a T, right? And the requirement is that what? CAT must start, and then anything can come, anything or nothing can come after. anything or nothing can come after the CAT, but CAT must be there. Are you getting the point? So now this is one case. The second case, that we have just two. The second one is the underscore. So the underscore means one value only. So when you use the percentage, it means at least, 0, 1, 2, any number of values can come. And that can occupy, take it as a positional thing, can occupy that position. So, but when you use underscore, it means only one value can occupy that position. So now, if I do C, let's begin. If I do C and I do underscore, only this guy will come because only it has one value after C. Are you getting it? So if I do CA now, which one will come, guys?
Cut.
Cut. Because only it has one value after CA. Then if I do CAT, which one will come out? This one. Because only it has one value after CAT. So that's the logic. That's all you need to know. So when you see star percentage, it means at 0 or any value, any number of value can occupy that place. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2, any number. But when you see that underscore, it means only one value can occupy that position. All right. So I know it's all like, what's this guy talking about? So let's see example. When we see examples, again, this takes practice. Just practice it, just play around it and then see the result for yourself. Anticipate the result and then see if you get exactly the same thing and then you understand. So that's what this guy is talking about here, that whenever you see anything like a percentage, it means that you are trying to look for any value that starts with A, because this means that A must start that particular value and then any number can come after it. If you look at this one, you have percent now. Percent comes first and A ends it. So it means that any number can come, but A must be the last. Do you understand it now? I hope you are getting it. So, and then you begin to see a mix. You can actually mix both of them together. But the mixing now depends on your requirement. So it's not like it's rigid, but all you need to understand is that percent means any value, any number of value, and underscore means just one value, occupy that position. So once you master those two things, you'll be able to tackle any wildcard question. So let's try some examples. So I'm going to copy this guy. Don't worry, it's not a lot. So let's look at our numerical columns because, what's it called now? Non-numeric columns, because that's where we'll be having to deal with a lot of them. So we don't really have a lot of examples here, but let's look at this product line. So if I'm interested in, this is really tricky now. We don't really have a lot of examples. So I guess this is the wrong data. I should have probably sent a better one to work with, but we don't have a lot. Oh my God. Okay, so let's try this cash. Let's try payment then. Let's try payment. I think we have more options, just 3 options here. It's not a good example. Probably I would send another data tomorrow. We'll resume here again. I will just show you for payment very quickly, but we'll come back to this example again. We'll get more interesting data that we can use. I didn't check it. So sorry about that. But let's see payment. So if I'm interested in getting, because here we have cash, we have credit card, we have e-wallet. So if I'm interested in like any payment that is starting with C, you understand? Any payment that starts with C. I don't care what the name is, but orders with payment C. Please, all these things we ask, when you have your mini project, how I will ask all these things, you have to know the application when you are asked a question. By now, you should have seen how we ask the questions in the mini project. So when you have questions, you need to think deeply about these things. Okay, so don't expect that when I want to ask you a question, I will be telling you that others with payment C. It will not come easy. Like I will expect you to think, and then you must come to a point where you say, okay, how can I figure it out? Okay, I think it has to be. So you'll be the one thinking, not me thinking for you. So please, let's take notes so that we can get we can understand these things, because it's not about the tools. It's not about knowing the tools. The tools are not hard. It's about using them, knowing when to use them. And that's what the old business world is all about. Okay. So, but these are just simple examples. So we want to get where others start with number C. Okay. So using that method that we talked about now, how do I say start with C? There's no how I can say where, of course, one way could be that I could say payment equals to cash. This is one way, right? And payment, I know someone who can do this. That brother that used filter when I asked them question in the first project. That brother thought he would escape the second project. I'm sure he ran away. Okay. So if you use this method, actually, you will get what you want. But that is because you actually know that there are two options. So what if you have a lot of options with C? Are you going to do the same thing? No. So that's the use case for this now. So you see that it makes more sense, right? So, but of course, this will solve our question. Oh, I think there's a mistake here. So now, who can tell me what the issue is here? So what is the issue here? Why is this not giving us any result? Anybody? Anybody?
I think because we use and.
Who was that?
If you use either payment is cash or payment is credit card, it will display both cash and credit card for you.
Who is that?
Sunday.
What class are you?
What do you mean, what class?
The Discord class.
I think it's love.
You think? Ah.
Okay, I'm in love. Let me check my Discord.
Did you submit your mini project?
No, I missed some classes. So I need to catch up.
I would have gifted you something now. Sorry, you missed out on it. Sorry. Oh, so where payment equals to cash, or so do you? I mean, two people also said the same thing. So because there's no how payments can be cash and credit card at the same time, right? So it's either a cash or a credit card. So that's why that did it for. So if we do this now, we'll get the real result. So you can see now that we have where the payment is cash or where it is credit card. Okay. Now let's see how that other guy we're talking about, the like, can actually fetch us this same result. So because if I have more than cash and credit card, it means I have to be doing or if we have 20 of them that start with C, to be like that. But you can just do everything once using this. So, oops, sorry, I copied this one. So I'm just going to do where payment like, okay, so that's the syntax, okay, when you're dealing with credit card. So like, so I want it to start with C, okay? So it means C is going to start and then anything can come after it. All right. So when you do this, you are still going to get the same thing. You see? So you get C. So even if you have more than these options, you will still have the same thing. Okay. So let me give you one interesting example to try. And then you take your break. So we are taking 5 minutes. But in that 5 minutes, I want you to try. Let me see now. Let's start our simple mini project example from here. So I want you to return the product line that contains and. So A and B. If you check the product line, return the product line that contains and. So I want and to be in the product line. So you have 5 minutes. You have 4 minutes for your break and then 1 minute to do that. So I hope you got my question. I hope so.
Can you come again, please?
How many times? Product line.
I mean with the question.
Product line that contains an and. Don't type your answer on the chat, even if you got it. When we come back from our break, I will ask you. So let's take 5-minute break.
Please, the question again. I was out.
Product line that contains and. That contains and. That's it. Product line that contains and. So we have 4 more minutes for our break. Let me copy it on the chat. Don't put the answer on the chat, please, when you are done. Okay, so we are back. Thank you. I see a lot of dones there. Wow. That's interesting that you guys actually got it. So I guess I need to move on. No need to talk about it because a lot of people got it. So who wants to teach us? Who wants to tell us the answer? Anyone? Volunteer? Say please stop.
Hi.
Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, let me try.
I raised my hand.
Who said hi? Okay, now go
Hi.
ahead.
Raise hand. We'd like to.
I actually raised my hand to answer.
I
That was
We did too.
I didn't see the hands, raised, sorry. I just followed the voice.
Okay. So we have select star from supermarket sales web product line like
Okay, let me
an
just
iPhone.
sorry, let me write this one. Products fine. Okay, like what? Yeah, are you there? Mr. David? Mr. David? I think we lost him. We lost
Okay,
him.
can I complete it, sir?
I'm actually the one going on.
Yeah. It's you.
Okay. So web product line like
Okay.
your single quotes, wildcard, underscore. That's the percentage there now.
Percentage is not the wild card. It's a type of wild card.
Okay, type of wildcard, the percentage symbol,
Okay.
underscore, and
underscore
the
and
percentage, yes.
Like this?
The percentage. Yes. Then the percentage.
The percentage.
Yeah, and that's it.
This is going to work actually, but it's actually going to work. However, it might be tricky in some.
okay. So this would work. Can I say something?
Sorry, I muted everyone. So it's actually going to work, but again, it's like the use case. So if I actually have something like band, are you listening, Mr. I don't know who that was. If I actually have something like band, this will actually come as well. Or maybe something like I-band. It will actually come as well. And it's not the same because what I want is like just have and standing alone. So because this means that you want a value before this hand as well. Compulsorily now. So this is needless. Okay, this is fine. And you will get the answer. All right. So that's how it works. So if you actually have something like this among your options and you do that, this will also be included in your result. And then it's not what we want. Okay. I hope you understand it. I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. But thanks for that. Yeah, the underscore is needless in this particular case here, because that percentage is just fine. Okay, so Mr. James, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. It was just contribution really. Nothing much. So he puts in the underscore would return a single character for a single character, before the and, because before the and can you hear me? I don't know if
I can hear.
Yeah, so we return a single character before the and. You return a series of character and then a single character before. So guys, is I don't know. That's actually a very big, like it's not necessary because you're already telling MS SQL that you need and in any position, that whatever position and is, because it's putting the two percentage symbol, which are the wildcards. They're already saying whatever position you find and I want you to retrieve, that particular column, or that's the what they call it, the product line column. Yeah. Then putting the underscore wildcard is saying I need a single value as well, be a single character before the and before and itself. So like you said, band would come, whatever, if there anything that like has a single character that has a character before and it would also be retrieved in the output or result that follows. So yeah, that was what I wanted to say at the time. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the contribution. Okay, so we'll move to the, I believe you guys even got it. So, but I made a promise, so maybe I might bring that data that contains a lot. If not, I can just maybe send it on the Discord so you guys can play around it just to really test it. So maybe not necessarily talk about it anymore in class because I think you guys really got the whole idea. But you need to practice more on it. Okay, so the last one here is in. So it says that to specify multiple values for a colon. So again, this is another way of trying to filter out. There are use cases for it. So for instance, I mean, there are a lot of use cases. So let's just see how we can use that. So let's assume I'm interested in, let's make use of the numbers first. So out of the quantity, we have quantity, I think probably the maximum is 10 so far that I've seen. So I'm interested in the even number quantity. Do you get the idea? So even number quantity. So I want, what even number is, right? Or even numbers are. So let me write my query. I'm just going to copy and paste this one and say others with even numbered quantity. Okay, so means my where is starting from quantity, right? Now, I might want to say where quantity equals to 2, right? Or quantity equals to 4, or quantity equals to 6, or quantity equals to 8. So I think the max is 10, but let's just leave it. I don't know if that's the max, but so far, let's just assume that that's actually the last one. So our quantity equals to 10. So I'm interested in even numbers, right? So if I actually run this query, I would see that now why I'm using all and not and, right? So if we use all, we see that all our quantities indeed are even numbers. Okay. But what if we have like maximum 100 and I mean, you necessarily don't want to be writing all of these things. So an easier way to do that is to use the in clause or statement. I don't know. So I'm going to copy this again and then bring it here. So instead of saying all of these things, so I can just say quantity in, and then you can have a bracket, and then you can list those numbers. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay. So once you do this, it's still going to give you the same result. All right. So it means that quantity here, so it's going to just, you get the idea, right? So check here, check here, check here, check here. So again, you might not notice a lot of differences between this and this. It's when you have a lot of data and then you're having to check the power and performance and all of that. But yeah, this is how the in function works. So you can see in and then it checks. So it's the same thing. If you are interested in maybe particular words, it could be words, not necessarily numbers now. So it could be words. So maybe I'm interested in, maybe you have a lot of options and then you're interested in some certain ones. So if you want to deal with, okay, let me make an example for the words now so that you won't be confused. So let me say others with we don't have anything that have a lot of options here, but okay, let me just say fashion accessories. Oops, sorry. Fashion accessories. So this is just a simple example. So if I want to do quantity in this one now, so I have to use a string, as you know, I cannot just use it directly like that. So that's just what I wanted to show you. So it's still also going to work. So there's an issue here. I think I just learned something about this. I don't think it works with strings.
MS SQL.
Yeah, I don't think it will work with strings. Okay, so let's quickly check Google in
It does.
SQL, because that error is, so let me check.
It worked here.
It worked there on your hand?
Yes.
Oh, why did it not work about my end? I'm talking of the quantity, not I'm talking of the this now. Is
Yeah.
this
Yes, I actually did for payments in credits and cash.
okay? So let me, but this conversion failed when converted.
Is it quantity or product
Ah,
line?
my bad. Thank you so much. So it's actually not quantity. So it's product line. That's where we have this guy. Thank you so much. Ah, this class
That's
making my head swell up. All right, so that's fine. Thank you. So I was going to check Google, and even I saw already that it worked. I saw an example here where it was used. That it worked. So that's it. Okay, I'll come back to this in a moment. So that's basically just to show you that this guy can work with numbers, can also work with. So if you have more than one product line that you would like it to check, you can just use comma and then do all of that. So that's all for today. I think good. So we managed to do select from where. So where, I knew where is going to take us a lot of time. So please, I hope that you find some time, even if it's 30 minutes. Some of us complained about time not being enough or something like that. But at the beginning of when you registered, I remember there was a question saying that if you could commit 10 hours to this camp per week, and our meetings are just 6 hours. So where is the remaining 4 hours left for us? So sometimes when I read those excuses, I just smile and then I laugh, because you are breaching your agreement. We could actually sue you because you promised us 10 hours, right? So
do you
please,
mind my
there's
hand
no,
up? Do you mind if I just have one question, please? So
no.
you said where quantity in, you've highlighted 2, 4, 6, and 8, and 10, and that's because you already know the data set. So what if you have 1,000 of it and you're not sure what these even numbers are? What can you do to just get all the even numbers?
You don't know what even numbers are?
No, that's not my question. My question is, if you have a whole lot of data, because now we just have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, so we can know these are the even numbers. What if we have 1,000 of it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, just keep going. 1,000 of it. You can't keep writing 500 of that. So how can you just get all the even numbers from that database?
I think that's a very good question that you asked me. And honestly, I would recommend that we ask Google.
Okay.
You go first. And then if you find the solution, tell us on the chat. And then we'll really learn. So it's a challenge for everyone. So find out. That's a very good question. So, but check Google. Again, this is not like the only way you can do this kind of thing. So it depends on the problem you are solving. So there are other ways that you could, for instance, let me just give you could try to find the even number first, because even numbers are numbers that are divided by what? By divisible by 0. So for me now, if I have a lot of data, instead of doing this method, I would rather create a new column to check if that number is even or not. Just like you would do in Excel. So you do if this number is divisible by 0, return yes. If not, no. And then when I get that colon, then I can use that colon now to filter just yes, and I get my even number. Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't have to just use this step. It doesn't have to be rigid, but you just need to know these things. There are a lot of ways you can solve a problem, and it depends on the business, on the case. So again,
yeah,
we have to really think. We have to really think. Beyond the tools.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's true.
All right. So I was saying something. You made me forget what I was saying. So I was talking about the time. So there's no excuse. You still have 4 hours left to commit to this camp, apart from the classes. So those excuses about your time, I don't know what to do about it, honestly. So please find time, 4 hours during the week. You can split it 1 hour per day. in those days we are not doing classes. I mean, just try it. 30, even if it's 30 minutes, you will see that some of these things will just stick faster than compiling them and holding them, and they get very overwhelming. So I hope you can practice all of these things. And then, sorry, one last thing I wanted to mention. So at the beginning of the class, before we started the whole thing, I sent a particular link. That was the first thing I sent on our Discord group. This site is very important, and I think you need it more now. So if you go to W3 Schools, you can just type on Google W3 Schools SQL. Okay. So when you go there, you find this. So I recommend you begin to check this, but there are some complicated topics that are related to those DDL that I talked about earlier. So what you would need to do, just look at me right now if you are watching this video. So start from this, select this thing, this place, all this place. Yeah, just go through them, at least to this point before you get to joins. I'm sure before you reach here, we would have also gotten to joins. But the tutorial is really, really clear. I would really appreciate if you guys can do this before our classes, so it will really help our classes going forward. I know what we did today was pretty much easy and we were able to grasp it, but going forward, when we begin to look at some like those joints and all of that, I wouldn't want a situation where we'll be having to rack our head too much. So if you do us a favor of going through this beforehand, it will really help. So if there's something you don't understand here, I believe by the time I'm mentioning it, it probably will stick. It's just a recommendation. If you don't have the time, no problem. We are still going to teach, but just wanted to show you this website. It's very, very good, and I hope you guys make good use of it. Okay, so let's take questions for the next 3 minutes. Mr. Function, your hand has been up since.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate everything you've been devoted for the class. My question is, like, okay, now that you stop the class now, and this particular query that you have here, and how do we save it? And probably maybe tomorrow we want to continue on the same page. How do we save it so that whenever we open our SQL app again, so we can be able to start from there?
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I almost forgot that. I should have. Okay, so now we have written all our queries. So I actually usually forget to mention this all the time. God have mercy on me. But thank you, Mr. Funshaw, for reminding me. So you don't want to start all over again tomorrow, right? When you come, so you want to really like continue from here. So how you can save is very simple, similar to in Excel. So you can do Control S, which is save, or come over here to file, and then you can do save. So currently my query is SQL query 2. So if I just click on this, save, so it's going to show me this where I can save. Please be careful. Don't just save here directly, because this is the SQL part. If you save it here, you might find it difficult to find. It might be difficult for you to find later. So you want to go to a folder that, I don't know if you already created a dedicated folder for the summer LearnCamp. So if I were you, I would have a folder where I know that all my stuffs are. So for me now, I'm going to have an SQL folder here. And then inside of it, I'm going to write first class or something like that, wherever. And then you can save your file. Okay, so and tomorrow when you need to open or any other time you need to practice. Okay, so let me close this now. I come and I need to open it. So I come over to file and then open, and then I can click on project or solution, open project or solution. Now you can see this is the default location. So I need to go to where my file has been saved. So it depends, it varies on your computer. So I'm going to come here, SQL, where is it?
Summary.
What did I select? What option?
Back again on documents.
Yeah, it's here.
Summer learning.
Huh?
You save it as under summer learning. That's where you save it.
Yeah, it's under SQL. Yeah. No. I think I wrong thing. So it should be open file. Sorry, not project or solution. Open file. Sorry. So when I come to open file and I go to my folder again, Summer LearnCamp, SQL, and then I'm going to find it. So you can open it. Okay. So open file, not open project or solution. I hope that.
Then our this thing must have connected to the database.
Yeah. You of course you must have connected first before you can do all of this. You need to connect. Even if you don't connect, you can't get to the point of even trying to
query. It will write error.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Joshua. I expect if you practice, I will even know if you practice because I expect us to get an error. But I won't say it now. So that's how I will know if you guys practice or not. So if you don't get that error, if you don't complain about that error on your chat, then I know you practice or not. So that's what I'm not telling you now. So I'll wait. But I expect you guys now, if you shut down your computer and then you open it again, I expect you to get an error by the time you're running this query. But I will wait for you to ask those questions because learning by experience is really important. Okay, Mr. Ikena. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My question is, you made some, and you were trying to say something at the beginning of the class about Mac users. How do we?
Mac users. Okay, so I will send the link to how you can install. Yeah, today, right away, like after the class.
Thank you very much. That's what I want to say.
All right. So if you have any other question, please ask on the Discord. Thank you so much, guys, for tonight. And I hope we see you tomorrow again by 8 p.m. Central European Time. Have a great night and see you. Bye-bye.